Today we're diving into the messy, hype-heavy reality of AI in the corporate world. Everyone's talking about agents, co-pilots, and automation, but what's actually going on inside real companies? Before we dive in, we found that 60% of you aren't following us yet. Please do us a huge favor, hit that follow button and collect our episodes on pods.media. Your support means a lot. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's unpack this. We're just bombarded with news about AI transforming businesses, right? But when we look at what our sources are telling us, it's not quite the seamless revolution some might expect. What's the real picture emerging?
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. There's definitely this huge wave of interest, and enthusiasm around enterprise AI. Companies are looking at everything. Chatbots for customer service, obviously, like those automated first contacts. Then you've got AI co-pilots, which are more like smart assistants working alongside employees, and even these big ideas about interconnected agent ecosystems doing complex tasks automatically. But what's really striking is the gap, the distance between all that excitement and, well, actual widespread effective use. Many are still just dipping their toes in.
Exactly. It feels like so many organizations are sort of stuck in what you could call the demo phase.
Yeah.
They've seen the cool presentations, maybe run a tiny test or two, but they haven't really woven AI into how they actually operate day to day. So you have this weird tension, heaps of interest. The tech is often there, but actually executing it at scale, that's where the struggle is. What's causing that gap?
Well, looking at the sources, two big pitfalls keep coming up. The first is this idea of top-down pressure without ground-level buy-in. So leadership declares, we're going AI first, which sounds decisive, sounds good.
Yeah, sounds impressive.
But then they don't actually allocate enough time or budget, or critically, they don't lay out a proper strategic plan. So these big initiatives just fizzle out. And the people, the employees who are actually supposed to use these new tools, they might not have the training, or they might even be worried, about their jobs. The insight really is big AI talk from the top without real resources and planning. It's just noise.
That makes total sense. You can't just order innovation to happen. It needs that bottom-up engagement too. And you mentioned a second big challenge.
Yes, the other side of the coin almost. It's the grassroots hacks with no support or scalability. You get these really motivated employees, right? They start tinkering with AI tools on their own, maybe automating a small part of their job.
Which sounds great initially. Proactive people.
It is. That initiative is definitely good. But without any official backing, without guidance on, say, security or best practices, and crucially, without a plan to take that little hack and maybe use it across the whole department or company, well, these efforts just stay isolated. Little islands of innovation that don't really change the whole organization. The takeaway, these isolated experiments, however clever, don't scale up to transformation.
So you end up with this kind of disconnect. Leadership pushing, maybe ineffectively, and employees either not equipped or doing their own thing in isolation. What does that actually look like day to day? What are the consequences?
Right, and this is where you really see the hype colliding with reality, as one source put it really well. Internally, you get teams maybe expecting miracles. They think AI is the silver bullet that's going to fix everything instantly.
Unrealistic expectations.
Totally. And then externally, you've got the market, investors, everyone hearing the AI buzz and expecting these rapid, huge returns on investment. The result, often it's just this collection of pilots that don't talk to each other. Maybe different departments bought different tools, loads of confusion about vendors, and these wildly optimistic timelines and goals that just aren't met. The core issue is these mismatched expectations inside and out just create pressure and eventually disappointment.
And I guess with all the global volatility, the economic uncertainty we're seeing, executives are probably getting much sharper now. They want to see tangible benefits, right? Not just promises.
Exactly. The pressure for demonstrable value is really ramping up, and this leads us into some more specific ways companies are falling short. A really common one is just the lack of a unified strategy.
Okay.
Different departments, maybe marketing and sales and IT, they're all off doing their own AI things, but nobody's coordinating. So you get duplicated effort, wasted money, maybe conflicting approaches. Yeah, everyone's building something, but with totally different blueprints.
Yeah, reinventing the wheel in different corners of the building. And I bet data is a huge part of this too. Accessing it, using it.
Absolutely critical. You simply can't build effective AI agents. These software bits meant to automate tasks if your internal data is a mess, or if it's locked away in different systems that don't talk to each other, siloed data repositories, poor data quality. These are massive roadblocks.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out, basically.
Pretty much. And then there's that unrealistic expectations thing again, but more on the deployment side. People see a slick demo, maybe something that took months to build for that specific demo, and they think, great, roll it out across the company next week. When the reality of taking a proof of concept and making it robust, secure, and integrated enough for enterprise use, that's often months, maybe quarters of hard work, not days.
That demo to deployment gap, that seems huge.
It is. And the key insight here is that successful AI absolutely hinges on having accessible, clean data and setting realistic timelines. You can't shortcut that.
And it's not just the tech and the data, right?
Yeah.
The people side, the company culture, that must play a big part too.
A massive part. We see these fear-led cultures. If employees basically see AI agents as job stealers, as a threat,
they're not going to embrace it.
Exactly. They'll resist using the tools, maybe subtly sabotage projects. Adoption just stalls. And those siloed teams we mentioned, it's not just about strategy duplication, it's about missing opportunities. Like maybe the sales team has an amazing AI tool for predicting customer churn, but the marketing team, who could really use those insights, never even hears about it because they just don't talk or coordinate effectively.
Misconnections.
Totally. And finally, there's this pattern, one source called vendor roulette. It's this inconsistent strategy. Some companies try to build everything themselves, maybe overestimate their capabilities. Others just buy every shiny new AI tool that comes along without a clear integration plan. Very few seem to find that sweet spot, that right balance between building what's unique to them and buying what makes sense off the shelf. The takeaway is clear. Fear, poor collaboration, and chaotic vendor strategies are major drags on progress.
Okay, so it sounds like there are quite a few traps companies can fall into. But presumably, some are getting it right, or at least more right than others. What are these smart firms doing differently? What can we learn from them?
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the successful approaches often seem to boil down to, well, good organizational practices, really. Things that aren't necessarily specific only to AI, for example, forming AI councils.
Okay, what does that involve?
It means putting together teams with people from different parts of the business. IT, legal, marketing, operations, HR, specifically to guide and govern how AI is adopted across the whole company. It helps break down those silos we talked about, ensures everyone's moving roughly in the same direction.
A central steering committee, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And related to that, we're seeing leading companies creating agent policies, even early on, setting clear guidelines. What tools can people use? For what purposes? What are the data privacy rules? What are the ethical considerations? This kind of proactive governance helps manage risk and actually encourages responsible innovation rather than letting it be a free-for-all. The insight that cross-functional teamwork and clear ground rules are absolutely fundamental.
Setting those rules of engagement early makes a lot of sense. What else are these more successful firms doing?
They're actively investing in internal champions, finding those people within the company who are naturally enthusiastic and knowledgeable about AI.
And empowering them.
Exactly. Supporting them, giving them visibility, maybe letting them run lunch and learns or share best practices. And using internal communication tools, Slack channels dedicated to AI wins, company wikis with guides, internal demo days or showcases, all designed to highlight successes and get employees talking and sharing knowledge, spreading the word organically.
Okay, so fostering that internal community.
Yeah. And another key thing is planning realistic pilots, not just endless experiments with no clear goal. These firms run focused, short-term tests. They have very specific objectives, clear metrics for success, and crucially, a plan for what happens next if the pilot works. How do we scale this?
Avoiding that pilot purgatory.
Precisely. And finally, they're thinking long-term. They see this early phase, even with all the hype and maybe some fumbles, as a crucial learning period. They're using it to build the right data infrastructure, to start upskilling their teams, getting ready for deeper AI integration down the road. The takeaway here is nurturing your own experts and focusing on tangible, step-by-step progress really pays off.
So it's about being strategic. Yeah, fostering that communication, focusing on real progress, not just, getting swept up in the buzz. Now, thinking about companies that aren't there yet, that want to move beyond just demos and pilots, what needs to fundamentally change in their approach, in their mindset?
That's the big question, isn't it? What are the core shifts needed? One huge one is finding that balance between the top and the bottom. You absolutely need that strategic vision, that push from leadership, but it won't work without real practical engagement and buy-in from the people doing the work. It has to meet in the middle.
Can't be just top down or just bottom up.
Nope, we can't stress this enough. Companies have got to fix their data.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter how fancy the AI model is. If the data going into it is messy, inaccessible, or just plain wrong, the results will be useless, or worse, misleading. Investing time and resources into proper data governance, cleaning up data, making sure knowledge flows. It's not glamorous, but it is absolutely essential, foundational.
Data really is the bedrock. No getting around it. So strategic action, data readiness, continuous learning. The potential is definitely there. It's huge. But making it real, that's all about the execution. It's not just buying tech. It's building the strategy, the data pipes, the skills, the whole culture around it. So yeah, the key takeaway seems clear. AI's promise in the corporate world, significant and growing. But realizing it takes that strategic, well-backed, realistic approach. You got to nail the data management, develop your team skills proactively, set clear goals that aren't just about the initial wow factor. What actual concrete steps are being taken right now to get past the AI hype bubble? How are they building something that lasts? And what kind of balance do you see between those big pronouncements from the top and the real work, the initiatives happening on the ground level? Definitely something worth pondering. Thanks again for taking this deep dive with us today.